Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Next Gen Genealogy Network Education Hangout for the month of May. Now, I know I was supposed to do one the end of April, and unfortunately, things got away from me. I got sick, and then NGS happened, and I got sick again. Luckily, now my voice is back enough where I decided to do a little extra long of a hangout today. First part about finding places to lecture in the genealogy world if you are an aspiring amateur, professional, hobbyist lecturer. And then a little bit about things you should think of before you go and undertake public speaking, because it's a little bit harder than some people actually think about it. There are always the natural born performers, and then there's the rest of us, right? So this one is going to be a twofer. And if you haven't noticed, I'm not in my normal chair. My table has been packed. We are in the middle of a move. So I'm actually coming to you from my living room floor. And the echoing is because my house is mostly empty. So hopefully it doesn't get too bad. I've packed my headset and I don't know where it is. That was poor planning on my part. So why don't we go ahead and get started today with lecturing. Now, this was a topic that members of the Next Gen Facebook page said that they wanted to hear about, places that you could find to speak on genealogical topics. And to be honest with you, there's more than what you might think of. Of course, there's the, ask your local society if they'd like somebody to come and talk to them about a topic. But, you can also think outside of the box. So think about what you're good at speaking about, what you like to teach, what you like to research. Start there. And then start thinking about who in your community might be interested in hearing about that type of information. It could be as simple as you contacting a local senior center and going and speaking at a retirement home. It could be if you enjoy working with kids and teaching the next generation of genealogists how to do it successfully, contact the Boy Scouts. They have a badge. Contact the Girl Scouts. Contact the American Heritage Girls who also have a badge. They contact local schools, see if they have a journalism or a newspaper. Maybe they'd like to have you come and talk to their class about how you write about genealogy and family history. Just think about your skills and then think about who in your local area, because that's where you should start. Start locally. It's cheaper that way. And then build out from there. Really to think about it, discuss it, make a list, whatever you need to do to go from there. And of course, when you're first starting, don't pass up the free stuff. A lot of people, if they don't know who you are, or a lot of these groups that I named, like the Family History Center, Scouts, sometimes libraries, or even retirement homes and centers, they can't pay you. But it's good experience for you if you've never spoke before and you're kind of getting a feel for it. You don't want to speak for free forever, especially if you want to make a business out of genealogy. But there's no reason why you shouldn't take a free gig every once in a while. Or, if you're just doing this because you love it and you want to share it, take free things all the time. They will pay you in other ways. Sometimes you can get research clients if you're into finding more clients for research. Sometimes you can make research connections if you're from the local area and you're speaking on a local topic to a local organization, you might find distant cousins in the room. There's all sorts of reasons why, even if you speak for free, you shouldn't be able to get something out of it. And of course, always work with the places when you find something. Sometimes a lot of these places, especially if they can't pay you, they are willing to do marketing and advertising for you. So that's one less thing you have to worry about, getting people there. A lot of the times, if you provide materials, they'll photocopy for you. That's one less cost you have to worry about. Think about other little things. Maybe if you have to drive a couple hours, maybe you could see if they'd be willing to at least pay for part of a tank of gas or maybe a meal. It might be a $20 gift card somewhere, but it's something at least to help defer your costs. And then, of course, don't forget about the online options. A lot of people, really don't like webinars or speaking online. However, they are a great place, especially if you're trying to if you've done the little things already. You've spoken on the local level, maybe you've moved up to the regional level, and now you're wanting to get your name out there as an expert speaker on whatever subject. Think about doing webinars. There are many state and regional and larger societies that do webinars. And it's really easy for you. You don't have to leave your home. You can give a webinar in your PJs and your bunny slippers if you wanted to, and nobody would know. So it's more cost effective for you. You don't have to worry about traveling somewhere, finding lodging, especially if it's, several states away. Basically, you provide the materials beforehand. They get it on the site for you, and then you show up at the appointed time online and give your presentation. Now, a lot of people hate doing webinars because you don't have an audience. Now, if you do a hangout or a video chat or something like that, that's different. But I'm talking about the pure online webinars, like on GoToMeeting or Adobe Connect or those types of platforms where you don't actually get to see or interact with the people you're talking to. And a lot of speakers have a difficult time with this. And it's purely because you can't gauge their reactions. I know the first few webinars I gave, it was very unsettling to me, and it was very nerve-wracking to me. And I did something, I'm going to talk about this more when we get to the public speaking part, but I actually determined that it was easier for me because I couldn't see an audience's face and I couldn't see their reactions to things, and I couldn't gauge when people had questions, that for me, for a webinar or an online lecture, I needed a script. And usually this is where I would say don't ever, ever, ever use a script for public speaking, and that's my opinion. But in those instances, I had to get out in a very specific amount of time, sometimes a lot of information. And to me, having something written down that I could read and then periodically pause and interject something, read, periodically pause and interject something, was a lot easier. It kept me on track, and it kept me from thinking about, oh my God, I can't see their face. Oh my God, do they like it? Do they have questions? Maybe that didn't make sense. And getting caught up in that headspace that can really, really be a detriment to some speakers. So places to speak, that and ways to speak. I hope that made some sense to you, because those were a lot of the things that were talked about on the Facebook page. So if you're not a member of the Next Gen Facebook group, go out and join it and join in on the conversation. But I just want you to realize that there are lots of places out there if you just look. And there are a lot of places that really want speakers, and and they will give you a shot, especially your local group, because sometimes those local societies are really desperate. That's where I got my start, and I'm very, very thankful for them. And I actually do 2 to 3 presentations a year for them still for free, because that is my volunteer time that I'm giving to the society in addition to being a chairperson for a committee, because it's the way I can give back. Public speaking and lecturing is not for everyone, and there are some people who know that they just can't do it. So they're always happy if somebody volunteers. So if you think this is something you might want to do and you want to give it a try, volunteer at a library or the Scouts or your local society meeting. Get up there and do it. Now, let's move on to the public speaking part and give you some tips, because I think this goes into, now you think you might have some ideas of places that you could go speak. How do you go about speaking, especially if you don't have experience? And to be honest with you, you could be the world's greatest expert in something and not be able to give a good speech and not be a good public speaker. And that's okay. It's one of those things that not everybody can do. It's one of those things that can be taught. It can be learned if you work with it and you develop those skills. So don't give up if you get some bad reviews or you feel really nervous. To be honest with you, I'm going to tell you tell you a little bit about my public speaking and my experiences, because believe it or not, I am a very shy person. I can put myself out there and I can be very flamboyant and outgoing and carefree and all those things when the time comes. And then usually I want to hide in a corner for a few hours because it's very draining for me. But I tend to have a little bit of that natural showmanship. I like to make people laugh. I like to make people have a good time. I like to entertain people in short amounts of time. And I like to get up in front of people and speak now because I like to educate. And I can put myself in teacher mode easier than I can put myself in entertainer mode. In fact, public speaking and getting up in front of people terrified me for years. In high school, I can remember having to do the required public speaking gigs, you know, where you had to get up and you had to memorize. One time I memorized, my freshman year, I remember we had to do the balcony scene from Romeo and Juliet, and everybody in the classroom had to memorize that and they perform it for the class. I remember my junior year, it was Mark Antony's speech from Julius Caesar. And I got up there, I memorized it. I literally stood at the back wall and just talked like this the whole time and just spit it out. And I just couldn't talk because like if I stared at anybody, I was going to puke in the trash can sitting next to me on the floor just in case, because my teacher was afraid I was going to pass out. That's the way I public spoke all through high school. I was required to take public speaking in college. It didn't get much better. And then by the time I was a junior in college, I was an undergraduate teaching assistant, and I was actually helping with a chemistry course for non-majors. I was a biology major, but I took chemistry, and I knew the professor, and he needed an undergraduate assistant. And that was fun. And that's when I learned public speaking isn't all about getting up and preparing something. I mean, of course you're prepared, but it's not like getting up and performing. The teaching mode I could get into. I wanted to be a teacher because I like to educate people. I like to see the light bulbs go on. I like people go, oh, as something comes, ooh, thunder. It was a beautiful day just a few minutes ago. I should bet you can see the clouds getting darker behind me. So hopefully I will speak a little faster just in case the power goes out. But those types of things really paid me back later in life. You know, fast forward 10 years and I'm doing genealogy now. And I get very excited about it. I'm sure you do too. And so when I first started speaking, even though it was at a local society, I was very nervous because I was up there and I was performing, and it made me very nervous. And I got the little bubbles in my stomach and I felt like I was going to be sick. But as soon as I started talking, it all went away. And now I'm to the point where, yeah, I'm a little nervous now before I speak to public, you know, live, because it's the, oh God, please, technologies don't go on me now type of thing. But it's not so bad because I've trained myself. I've got up there. I've practiced it. I've learned the craft more. I've asked for feedback from people I trust and who I know will be honest with me, which is key. If you want to learn to speak, videotape yourself. Do something like this with somebody else. Do a hangout with someone. But they have to be someone who won't tell you how great you are and how proud they are of you. It needs to be someone you can trust to give you an honest critique. They'll tell you if you're playing with your hands too much. It's just what I do. I talk with my hands. Or if you click your tongue too much, or you say and or those things, you know, they can help you with. They also need to be somebody who understands at least a little bit of the subject. They don't have to know it perfectly, but they need to be able to give you pointers on maybe you should have added this, or maybe you should have done this differently. Or maybe somebody who is a speaker that you know and you trust and you admire. Ask them if they will critique you. What's the worst that could happen? They could say no. They could say yes too, right? So, like I said before, start small, work big. It's a skill you have to develop. And of course, don't be forced into speaking. I know several people who are scared to death to get up on stage. And they are told over and over and over again, you have to do this, you have to speak, your work is so good, you have to share it. Well, you know, if you are standing with a trash can right beforehand and you get up on stage and you are shaking so hard your mic is shaking or your papers are rattling or people can hear it in your voice, maybe, just maybe, this isn't for you. Maybe it'll come a time, but it's something that you really need to think about because it might not be the career path for you, or at least the way you are meant to share items. Maybe you should write more. Maybe you should blog. Maybe you should get a column with a magazine. Maybe you should start a vlog for yourself, do video lectures, something that makes you a little less scared. And then when you get more comfortable, you can get back out there again if you want to. Now, I want to give you a really good piece of advice that I think everybody should go out and watch. And this was told to me this morning, and I can't believe I didn't think of it beforehand. But make sure you go out and watch TED Talks and use those as guidelines for like the best practices, the way you should give a speech, because they are structured. Okay, those lectures, you have to abide by certain rules. You have to do things a certain way. Their slides are more, you know, atmospheric graphic behind you, but they are, ooh, it's really boring. But they are really good ways to keep an audience. You can learn a lot about public speaking and tone and pace. There are lots of articles out there about them. There's even some books that you can find online. So I suggest you go watch them. I know they're on Netflix, but you can also find them on the web. So go out, watch some TED Talks, see how they present, and see maybe if some of those techniques or those styles really speak to you and can help you out. So on that note, and because now the lights are starting to flicker and it's pouring down rain outside here in Virginia, I'd better go. I hope this was at least a little helpful to you. I hope you learned a little bit. And of course, we can always follow this conversation again on our Facebook page at Next Gen Genealogy Network. Don't forget to check out our website, and I will see you next month. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to hear about. And of course, if you'd love to be on this hangout with me, I'd love to have someone talk to me. Send me that too, and we'll get you on here. I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you next month.